8. Ida Victoria Merlano Monzano. In 2019, a 21-year-old Colombian Instagram model and influencer named Ida Victoria Merlano Monzano conspired with her brother to break their mom out of prison. The trio put their plan into action while being chaperoned by a security guard during what was supposed to be a routine dental appointment in Bogota. Monzano and her brother managed to distract the guard while their mother, Ida Merlano Reboledo, climbed out of a second-story window and scaled down the side of a building using some rope. She then got onto a waiting motorcycle and fled to neighboring Venezuela. Footage of the harrowing escape showed a shocked crowd of onlookers watching as the 38-year-old slid down the rope. Reboledo was just 6 months into her first term as a senator when she was arrested for voter fraud, corruption, and a weapon-related crime after basing her campaign on being an honest and hard-working single mother. She was 2 weeks into a 15-year prison sentence for the charges when her kids helped her escape. Police charged Monzano and her brother for their roles in the breakout. In the initial aftermath of her arrest, Monzano appeared to relish in the attention it garnered in the media and among her more than 3.6 million followers. But the behavior reflected poorly on the young woman in court. She was convicted of facilitating her mother's escape and was sentenced to 7 years of house arrest. Reboledo was also charged, but has managed to remain in Venezuela as she fights her extradition. 7. Kai Sonat. 21-year-old American influencer Kai Sonat is best known for his Twitch live streams and his comedic YouTube content. With 7 million followers and counting, he's been recognized as one of the top 25 most followed Twitch streamers. In August 2023, the native New Yorker announced that there would be a PlayStation 5 and gift card giveaway outside a Best Buy store in Manhattan's Union Square. Hundreds, possibly thousands of people swarmed the area as NYPD officers struggled to control the crowd. And authorities blamed Sonat for the surging turnout, which reportedly devolved into a riot. Police arrested 65 people, including Sonat, who was detained on suspicion of inciting civil unrest. He was later charged with felony first-degree rioting, causing public injury and damage, as well as misdemeanor counts of inciting a riot and unlawful assembly. More than a week after the out-of-control gathering, 16 suspects were still wanted by the NYPD for allegedly jumping up and down on an unoccupied BMW that was parked along the street. In his first video following his arrest, Sonat said that the incident made him realize the amount of influence he has over people. He further explained that the event was supposed to be a safe and fun giveaway, and that the chaotic outcome was not at all what he intended to happen. Sonat made it clear that he disapproved of and was disappointed by the behavior of anyone who behaved destructively during the event. His criminal case appears to be ongoing, but it's clear that his intentions were respectable. Hopefully he walks away from the case considering it as a lesson he learned and without any major damage to his record. 6. Kensington Tillow. Many people would jump at the chance to attend the annual Coachella Music Festival in Indio, California, where VIP passes can run as high as $1,500 each. A 23-year-old TikToker named Kensington Tillow was lucky enough to score free entry to the event from Kourtney Kardashian's lifestyle brand Poosh, much to the envy of her 2 million-plus followers. Tillow herself described the opportunity as the dream scenario of Coachella. So when she announced to her fans that she was leaving the festival a day early because she was tired, the internet was quick to snap back with harsh criticism. In a video announcing the decision, Tillow said that she was listening to her body and choosing not to push her limits. She confessed that she didn't attend the performances the day before and that she was glamming up for social media photos just to make it look like she went when she really didn't. During the clip, the young woman reminisced about the past consequences of ignoring her body at a time when she felt obligated to rage and party. Tillow said that she was looking forward to leaving the event and going to Cabo, Mexico, where she planned to lay in the sun and rot with a margarita in her hand. The video sparked outraged responses from people who wished they could attend Coachella, with some going as far as calling Tillow privileged, accusing her of being a waste of a ticket, and telling her that she should have donated her wristband to someone who actually wanted to go to the festival. Others were less harsh, pointing out that a lot of people wish they could be in her shoes and that she should try her best to enjoy the music. People also expressed shock and disapproval over the fact that Tillow put on her makeup just for social media, even though she admitted during the very same post that she had no real plans of going to that day's festivities. At the same time, a lot of Tillow's fans defended her decision not to push her limits for the sake of creating content. In all fairness, she does deserve some points for being honest, especially since so many people accuse influencers of being completely fake for the sake of popularity. The fact that Tillow decided to be real with her followers and was met with instant backlash could perhaps help to explain why social media stars so often choose to put on a happy face instead of being vulnerable and admitting that they're human like the rest of us. 5. Cesar Umberto Pena. New Jersey-based influencer Cesar Umberto Pena made a name for himself as a real estate investor, developer, and flipper. He hosted seminars across the United States, held one-on-one sessions with aspiring entrepreneurs, and promoted himself as highly successful in his field. But that simply wasn't the case, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, which announced Pena's arrest for wire fraud in October 2023. Pena is accused of running a multi-million-dollar Ponzi-like investment and fraud scheme. Starting in 2017, he allegedly conned dozens of unsuspecting victims into forking over millions of dollars of their hard-earned money based on the promise of investing it in specific real estate projects. But instead of using the funds as promised, federal prosecutors claim that Pena spent the money on himself and used it to pay off previous investors. Authorities further allege that Pena partnered with a well-known disc jockey, identified in other news sources as DJ Envy, in a bid to attract investors and gain a large social media following in the process. He also allegedly offered unrealistically high returns of 20 to 45% within 5 months, and failed to tell new investors that he had already collected money from other people for the projects he told them he needed their money for. If convicted as charged, Pena could face up to 20 years in prison. For now, he's presumed innocent until proven guilty. 4. Haley Pham. In September 2019, an 18-year-old American YouTuber named Haley Pham posted a video complaining about a recent trip to Greece and Italy that she had taken with her boyfriend. During the 35-minute diatribe, she said that her flights and hotel bookings got messed up, and that she came down with an illness during the European getaway. Pham described the country as having a struggling economy and said that it was not fun because there was nothing to do. She seemed especially disappointed because there was no beach where she was staying. In her words, there was just a cliff, and she further criticized the landscape by mentioning that the surroundings outside the city were flat and bare. The young woman went on to say that shopping is an option on Santorini, but that the streets are so crowded that it's difficult to get from one place to another. Pham went as far as warning her followers not to visit Santorini or Greece in general, even though they're on a lot of people's bucket lists, and she called her vacation the weirdest 3 weeks of her life. The video quickly garnered thousands of dislikes from offended viewers, who were just as quick to hit the thumbs down button as they were to call Pham out for allegedly acting entitled and spoiled. Several people who claimed to have visited Santorini left raving comments about their experiences, which totally contrasted with Pham's scathing review of the island. Some commenters accused the influencer of being culturally insensitive or ignorant, while others insinuated that she was acting like a privileged snob, considering the fact that many Americans wish they could afford to visit a world-famous overseas destination. Considering the fact that many Americans wish they could afford to visit a world-famous overseas destination. A number of people defended Pham by pointing out that she was just stating her opinion of a place, and that she had every right to do so, as unpopular as that opinion may be. And they had an interesting point. After all, as human beings, we can't control our own likes and dislikes. And while most visitors seem to leave Santorini with nice things to say, not every tourist is going to leave happy. 3. Daia Meatball Blackwell. During the late summer of 2023, a Philadelphia judge made the controversial decision to drop criminal charges against Mark Dial, a former police officer who fatally shot an unarmed black man named Eddie Irizarry. The ruling sparked widespread peaceful protests as well as several consecutive nights of looting among understandably angry civilians who are beyond tired of seeing history repeat itself when it comes to police-related killings in America. At least 52 people were arrested in connection with the looting, including 21-year-old social media influencer Daia Blackwell, better known as Meatball. Interim Philadelphia Police Commissioner John Stanford accused Blackwell of live streaming while committing burglaries and allegedly encouraging others to participate in the crimes. Stanford described the looters as opportunists who he believed were acting separately from peaceful protesters. Blackwell faces multiple charges, including criminal conspiracy, burglary, and criminal trespass. She's currently on bail while awaiting her next court date and is presumed innocent pending the outcome of the case. After her release, she shared her side of the story on Instagram and implored her 10,000-plus followers to donate money to her as a welcome home gift so she could treat herself. In the video, Meatball described feeling traumatized by the several hours she spent in holding and accused the authorities of trying to do her dirty because of who she is. She further stated that she's feeling overwhelmed by her current legal problems and how the potential consequences could affect her future. The outcome of the situation remains to be seen. 2. Oan Elim. In 2021, French influencer and reality TV star Oan Elim posted a photo of herself in the business class section of a plane during a flight from Dubai to Monaco. The picture quickly garnered over 100,000 likes, but was soon challenged by a fellow passenger's snapshot of the 27-year-old sitting in the plane's economy section. It was clear, based on Ocean's outfit, that both pictures were most likely taken during the same flight, calling into question the lengths that influencers will go in order to look successful and glamorous. Instead of explaining the situation or trying to save face, Oan turned the comments off on the photo of her posing in business class. A few days later, she shared a photo of herself posing in the business class section of a different flight with her middle finger in the air, making it clear that she didn't care what anyone thought or said about her. The photo was accompanied by a snarky caption written in French, which translated to, "This time I promise I paid." This certainly wasn't the first time a social media star was caught pretending to fly in an upgraded seat, when in reality they were riding among the ordinary crowd. Back in 2017, the American rapper Bow Wow was caught flying economy after bragging on social media about flying in a private jet. Just like Oan Elim, he was called out on Twitter by a keen-eyed fellow passenger who spotted him on the flight. And now for number 1. But if you want to hear more bizarre and crazy stories, stay tuned after the video for some more content. 1. Ruby Frank. 41-year-old Mormon mother of 6, Ruby Frank, gained internet fame as a mommy blogger with an unusually strict approach to parenting. She launched her YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, in 2015, and quickly amassed a following of more than 2.5 million subscribers. But the unusually heavy-handed parenting strategies that made this momfluencer an internet celebrity also proved to be her downfall. Viewers first became concerned in 2020, when Frank banned her teenage son from his bedroom for 7 months, forcing him to sleep on a beanbag chair in a common area of her house. Several of her other disciplinary methods stirred up further controversy, including her tendency to withhold food, a threat to cut the head off a stuffed animal, and saying that Santa would bring gifts for some kids but not others. Frank and her now estranged husband, Kevin, responded to a growing wave of criticism by claiming that people had blown the situation out of proportion. But her YouTube channel continued to decline in popularity. The Franks separated in 2022, and Ruby went on to become a mental health counselor for a company called Conscience, owned by her business partner, Jody Hildebrandt. In addition to offering personal one-on-one sessions, the pair rebranded themselves on social media as a momfluencer team and began a new YouTube channel. The women met their downfall in August 2023 after the allegations about their parenting skills went from being controversial to criminal in nature. Both Frank and Hildebrandt are facing a slew of felonies related to their accused crimes, and they're being held without bail pending the outcome of their cases. Following Frank's arrest, her 20-year-old daughter Sherry made a social media post with the caption, "Finally." The young woman went on to claim that her mother's mistreatment has been going on for years, and that it's been a long time coming for Ruby to finally face her day in court. Frank's and Hildebrandt's cases are ongoing, and the allegations against the women have yet to be proven in the court of law.
10. Killed on Christmas Eve. 26-year-old British beautician Elle Edwards was celebrating Christmas Eve at a packed pub in Wirral, England in 2022 when someone opened fire on the crowd. She wasn't the intended target according to police, but she was nevertheless fatally shot by the reckless onslaught of bullets. 4 other bar customers were injured but survived. It was an annual tradition of sorts for local residents to gather at the pub on Christmas Eve. In all the years that Elle and her family had been going there, nothing like this had ever happened. 3 suspects were arrested in connection with the shooting, but so far only one man, 22-year-old Connor Chapman, has been charged. One of the suspects is a 30-year-old man who was released from prison early after serving time for murder and attempted murder in an unrelated case. He was on probation at the time of the shooting and was taken back to prison for his suspected role in the Christmas Eve shooting. With little else to go on, Merseyside police are relying on the public to provide more information about the suspects who were captured on surveillance footage. Law enforcement has received dozens of tips, but the investigation is proving to be complex and difficult. 9. The Parkway Pub murder. On New Year's Eve in 2021, a man walked into the Parkway Pub in Springfield, Illinois, and battered 2 of the people inside, including the 80-year-old owner, Angelo Manchi, and a 50-year-old patron. Manchi died from his injuries the next day. It all started when the bartender asked the man for his ID. The suspect didn't have his ID with him and became agitated and violent, according to Springfield Police Detective Benjamin Helton, who spoke with the prosecution at the first criminal hearing regarding the case. 27-year-old Dalton McDermott was initially taken into custody on 2 counts of aggravated battery. After Manchi died, the state attorney tacked on 2 additional counts of aggravated battery, along with 1 count of first-degree murder. Along with the new charges came a bail increase from $350,000 to $3 million. McDermott pleaded not guilty, and it's unclear where the case currently stands. 8. The disappearance of Yolanda Brown. What started out as a normal night out at a bar in September 2022 came to a mysterious and tragic end for 53-year-old Yolanda Brown. The last known image of her alive was captured by a surveillance camera at the Irish Bread Pub in Happaville, Georgia. She was seen speaking with a man in her car for 2 hours before she left the establishment. The man got into an SUV and pulled out of the parking lot behind her. Yolanda's son, Joshua Dirty, told local station WSB-TV shortly after her disappearance that he believed the man followed his mother that night. As the investigation played out, police revealed that she'd gone to the pub to meet someone she connected with online. State and local authorities launched a helicopter search, but they initially failed to find any sign of the missing mum or her Chevy Impala. About 2 weeks after she went missing, her car was found wrecked along the side of Interstate 20 with her body inside. It was unclear how long the car had been there before it was found, and authorities were hesitant to say whether they believed foul play was involved. At the time, they said that they were working all possible angles of the case. Since then, police have declined to release any further details regarding the circumstances of Yolanda's death. 7. Infamous mother makes headlines again. Unless you live under a rock, you've probably heard of Casey Anthony, the mother of a 2-year-old little girl named Kaylee, who disappeared in South Florida under suspicious circumstances and was found dead in 2008. Prosecutors tried Casey on a murder charge in 2011 with the intention of seeking the death penalty, but in an unexpected twist, the jury acquitted her. She still lives in Florida, but ever since the case came to its shocking conclusion, she's kept a low profile, for the most part, at least. Casey Anthony made headlines again in 2021, but this time it had nothing to do with the tragedy surrounding her daughter. According to law enforcement, she got into a shouting match with another woman at O'Shea's Irish pub in West Palm Beach one evening. The source of the argument, a man they'd both dated. A police report stated that the woman spilled water on Anthony's leg, and Anthony wanted to document the incident but declined to press charges. And she was advised on how to file for a restraining order, but decided not to pursue one. The specifics surrounding the argument were never revealed, and Casey stayed out of the spotlight until the release of a tell-all documentary in early 2023 called Where the Truth Lies. 6. Revenge, AR-15 style. 24-year-old Henry Estuardo Soto Cardona was drinking at the Porthole Pub in Pompano Beach, Florida in early 2021 when he allegedly became belligerent toward other customers. He was escorted out of the bar and tried to re-enter several times, but the manager kept blocking him, according to a police report. Soto Cardona issued an ominous warning that he would be back with something for the manager, and finally left. Just minutes later, he returned in his SUV and parked near the pub's front door. 3 employees noticed his vehicle and went outside anticipating more trouble. As they approached the SUV, Soto Cardona allegedly grabbed the barrel of a gun that was sitting in his passenger seat and said, "This is what I do to people who touch me." He was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in connection with the disturbing incident. At his first court appearance, Assistant State Attorney Eric Linder accused Soto Cardona of threatening an employee with an AR-15 assault rifle. Linder also said that there were others present who were put in danger by the defendant. The arrest came just days after Soto Cardona was charged with DUI after he allegedly rear-ended a car at a railroad crossing. In yet another unrelated case, he was also accused of firing a weapon repeatedly outside his home for no reason and without provocation. 5. Deadly fight at the door. 29-year-old single father Edward Stokes was drinking with relatives at the Army and Navy pub in Plaistow, England in early 2016 when he unexpectedly encountered devastating violence. It all started when someone from Edward's party got into a confrontation with 22-year-old Reese Hussein Lester inside the bar. The disagreement eventually spilled outside. Edward was standing outside the pub with several other patrons around midnight when Hussein attacked the group with a long kitchen knife, plunging the blade deep into Edward's chest. He and 3 others were rushed to the hospital, where Edward unfortunately died from multiple stab wounds, including one that severed an artery. The other victims survived. 2 suspects fled the scene, according to police, who eventually caught up with and arrested 6 women and 4 men in connection with the incident. Hussein turned himself into the police after finding out he was wanted for murder, and no further action was taken against the other suspects. According to police, Edward was trying to mediate between the parties when the vicious stabbing occurred. Hussein claimed in court that he stabbed Edward in self-defense, but the victim was unarmed at the time. A jury convicted Hussein Lester of manslaughter, 1 count of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, and 1 count of unlawful wounding. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. 4. The disappearance of Martin Joyce. 29-year-old Martin Joyce was last seen at the Bank of England pub in Ancoats, Britain on September 5, 1999. It had been a hard year for the young man who suffered the losses of his father and brother, but he seemed to be back on track until he vanished seemingly into thin air. More than 23 years later, Martin's disappearance remains a mystery. In 2016, the Greater Manchester Police dug up the cellar of the pub after receiving a tip that he may have been killed during a fight at the establishment and buried in the basement. The excavation yielded no evidence, but law enforcement continues to treat Martin's disappearance as a murder, and they consider the information they've received to be credible. His sister, Mary Joyce, disagrees with how the case is being handled. She doesn't believe her brother was murdered, but she admitted to the Manchester Evening News that she doesn't know why he went missing. At the time, Martin was living with Mary and their brother, Michael. After the deaths of their father, who was also named Martin, and their brother Douglas in 1998, Martin Jr. tried to take his own life twice. He overdosed both times. After the second incident, he was released from the hospital and went to jail for 9 months almost immediately after for traffic offenses. One thing everyone can agree on is that something seems to have gone horribly wrong for Martin that night, and answers are still lacking. It seems unlikely that he would have left his life behind on purpose, since he seemed to be doing better after the tragedies he endured. But for now, nobody knows, and his family has to live with the uncertainty and the absence of closure that comes along with it. 3. Backstreet Cafe Shooting. Just months after the world entered the new millennium, a man walked into a popular gay club in Renaique, Virginia called the Backstreet Cafe and ordered a beer. A few minutes later, he put his hand into the pocket of his trench coat, pulled out a handgun, and opened fire on the people inside, killing 43-year-old Danny Lee Overstreet, a beloved regular customer, and injuring 6 others. The ordeal left everyone with emotional scars, including those who were physically uninjured. One survivor, who asked to remain anonymous, told ABC News that the bullets whizzed past at such a close distance that she could feel the wind they produced. She said she looked up and saw people falling to the ground. Authorities charged 53-year-old Ronald Edward Gay in connection with the horrific shooting. In the days following the tragedy, members and supporters of the LGBTQ+ community came together across the country for vigils and marches. Several investigative media reports described how Gay told police that God told him to commit the shooting. He also allegedly said that he got picked up on his last name and had become bitter after years of being taunted. Gay pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including murder, and received 4 consecutive life sentences for his actions, which were deemed a hate crime. He died of natural causes while serving his sentence at a Virginia state penitentiary. He was 75 years old. The shooting was considered one of the worst hate crimes against LGBTQ+ people in the years leading up to the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, Florida. 2. A deadly walk home. 43-year-old father of 4 Dean Edwards was walking home from a pub in southeast London in 2020 when he was shot in the back of the head, execution style, in what appeared to be a horrifying case of mistaken identity. He was strolling through a park unarmed and was heading toward a subway station when the disturbing crime occurred. Following an investigation, police charged 26-year-old Taylor Purdy with murder. Purdy not only denied prosecutors' allegations that he shot Edwards in cold blood, he denied having any involvement in the killing, period. He claimed that he wasn't the man in the surveillance footage which captured the shooter in action, and he said that he had no idea why a cigarette butt found near the scene had his DNA on it, but that he may have been out with friends that night and flicked it from inside a car. And a jury believed him. Purdy was acquitted of the murder charge, and Edwards' tragic and needless death remains officially unsolved, although prosecutors are pretty sure the jury got it wrong and that they went after the right man. And the victim's family appeared understandably distraught as the not guilty verdict was read. 1. Gates Pub Shooting. One day in April 2015, a gunman entered the Gates Pub in Rochester, New York, and fatally shot 37-year-old Ricky Jones. The victim was struck at least 6 times, including once in the head. Authorities charged the shooter, David Alligood, with murder and various other crimes in connection with the incident. Alligood's attorney, Paul Vacker, sought to reduce the charge from second-degree murder to manslaughter, claiming that it was unclear how many guns were involved in the shooting and who fired all the shots. According to Vaca, it was impossible to slow down the security footage to a point where it was possible to unquestioningly point the finger at Alligood. In the lawyer's words, the footage speaks for itself and it doesn't show my client doing anything. Prosecuting attorney Patrick Gallagher, on the other hand, argued that the surveillance footage clearly showed that Alligood was a lone gunman acting on his own accord and without any co-conspirators. Gallagher also said that all 6 bullets taken from the victim's body came from the same gun, according to ballistic evidence. He went on to explain that Alligood could be seen calmly walking over people who were laying on the ground and that the defendant's intention was to kill. The jury agreed with the prosecution and convicted Alligood of murder, along with 2 counts of second-degree criminal possession of a weapon. He was sentenced to 25 years to life. At his sentencing, the 32-year-old apologized to the victim's family, while claiming that he shot Jones in self-defense.
Thanks for watching. Many influencers have been criticized for claiming that being popular on social media is a demanding full-time job, while ordinary people tend to believe that being an influencer is as easy as snapping photos and looking cute. What do you think? Does being an influencer qualify as real work? Or do social media celebrities fail to realize how easy they have it? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.